What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Morello Show. We have reached double digits, number 10. Very excited for that. And very excited
Woo!
for, thank you, thank you. My guest here as well, Shaun Geddes from the Knicks Wall. How you doing, man?
I'm pretty great, bro. I'm pretty great. Like, honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Of course. Yeah,
Episode 10. This is like double digits now. Like,
it's
I
double
it's like
digits. This is a big deal. This is two and a
it's
half months. This is,
huge,
we're making it somewhere.
huge deal, bro. It's a big start, and that means you kept going 9 times.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, but we've got a lot to talk about today because our New York Knicks are back in the playoffs. Not only back in the playoffs, we are the 4 seed. We have home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. Just kind of talk to me about what, like, I mean, obviously, like, it's a big deal, but kind of like try to explain what like this whole thing encompasses after all we've been through the last 8 years.
The last 8 years, honestly, beyond the last 8 years, our whole lifetime, honestly. I mean, because before the 2013 season, things like, or before the last time we made the playoffs, we were okay. We were all right during the Melo years, but it was bad during that time too. So it's just, this is like my first time in like 8 years is a long time. Like, I'm 26, I'm 26 now. I was 18 the last time we went to the playoffs. So it's just like all the things that have happened in my life, and with the amount that the Knicks mean to me and all of us, like, it's just like when your basketball team is bad, that's just a different level of despair. Like,
Bad. It's bad. Like you're saying, like I'm 22 now, so I was in middle school when the last time the Knicks made the playoffs. Like that's crazy.
it's a
That's
crazy thought,
crazy.
bro. So like,
It's been a long time, man.
such a long time, and it's like now we get to, the regular season ended, and like we're still playing basketball. Like, we still have things to be excited about. Like, the normally we would like be dragging to get through the season. We got some 10-day contract guys who are out there, but this is really exciting. This is a great time. So, if you are a Knicks fan, enjoy it with us, be excited. If you're not a Knicks fan, just be happy for the Knicks fans in your life, man. Understand they've gone through a lot. They've been through a lot. We were teased for a lot of things. Other teams get to be bad in peace. We didn't get to do that. We got to
Never.
be bad and,
People love
be
it
the
when we stink. People love it.
we were the topic of conversation, even though we were like one of the worst teams in the league. It's like, bro, go talk about the guys who are winning. But
Exactly. Exactly. But we're here now. We're here now. We are playing the Atlanta Hawks in the first round, starting later this week. We got the playing games first, obviously. What are kind of your expectations for the series against the Hawks? I know we went 3-0 against them in the regular season, but they were missing Bogdanovich 2 games. Trae Young was hurt in the fourth quarter, one of the games. Kind of, take me through what do you think what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, over on TKW, I've been telling people all year, like, the Hawks are food. Like, I wasn't that very moved by them. They got a lot better after they got Nate McMillan, so they've improved. But I just think, especially in a 7-game series, if the refs aren't bailing Trae Young out all game, I don't think there's much they can do with us. Julius Randle's going to eat. RJ Barrett's going to eat. Hopefully we keep Alfred Payton off the floor.
Yes. Yes. Which is one thing I was going to ask you about. Like, in this stretch that we've been playing, well, his minutes have been diminishing. I think he's around like somewhere between like 12 and 16 minutes a game, something like that, even though he's still starting, which is another discussion. But well, I guess, do you think he still keeps that spot for the playoffs? Do you think he goes to Rose? Do you think he goes to Quickly? I think Rose personally should be in, but what do you think?
I think Rose personally as well. I think there's a few different ways you can go. I just don't think any of them are Alfred Payton. He doesn't contribute anything to the team. He's not helping the offense. He's not giving a great effort defensively. Like, he's at the point now where his minutes have been reduced. He's not put into games. He's not even inserted back in the game in the first half. When Tibbs needs defensive subs, he brings in Frank. So at this point, Tibbs has almost shown us that Alfred is contributing nothing to the team. He just has been in the starting lineup as a formality, but in the playoffs, there's really no time to waste. Every quarter is like a game. Every single minute counts. Every possession matters. So he adds nothing to us. There's nothing about his game or his contributions to the team that are advantageous to us in any way.
Absolutely not. He's a net negative point guard on a 10 win above 500 team. Think about that. Like, we have had if we had either Rose starting for the entire year, I know we traded for him, obviously, but if we had him starting the entire year, if we had Quickly starting the entire year, hell, even Frank, right? How many games, like, we could win like 46, 47 games. Like, that's how much he stinks. And you see that all over Nick Twitter too. Like, everybody's complaining about that.
And then there's the people who complain about us complaining, and it's just like, it's nothing personal. Like, I don't have anything. If Elfrid Payton were to go out there and play great, I'd get a jersey. Like, but if you're gonna be playing and not doing it well, we're gonna say that. It's okay. It's not rec basketball. We don't have to be nice to everybody.
Exactly.
Like, do your job, bro. If you're not doing your job well, we're gonna say it.
I mean, look what happened last year with Randall.
Exactly. Exactly. And now he's playing excellent basketball. And I don't think anybody feels more love from their fans right now than Julius Randle.
Now, every time he goes to the free throw line, MVP chance.
Raining. Like, there's not 2,000 people in the Garden. So,
yeah,
it's just play basketball, bro. And if you don't do it well, we're allowed to say you don't do it well. So hopefully Tibbs doesn't set. We don't have time for any disadvantages in the playoffs. We don't have time for slow starts that we got to bounce back from. We need to have the best team on the floor possible for 48 minutes. I feel like Tibbs is probably going to even shorten the rotation. So it's just like if minutes got to come out, like those 16 minutes that he's given to Elfrid for no reason just are no longer viable. So I'm almost, it's funny, because I've been thinking this all year, so I'm nervous because all year it's been like, especially once we got Rose, it's like, okay, there's no way we're gonna have to keep watching Elfrid start, and he continued to do so for all 72 games. I mean, except the ones he was out for. But I mean, I just think now at this point, with the way that he ended the season, with like, it was very clear he's not contributing. So going into the playoffs, Tibbs, just do the right thing, please.
Exactly. Like, and even if they want to, split his minutes between keeping Elfrid in the rotation a little bit and giving it to Frank, who we will need to defend Trae Young, which I was going to get to in a second, but he cannot keep playing 12 to 16 minutes a game like he is. And that's even reduced from what he was in the beginning of the season. But we have play quickly more. He's an offensive threat. He plays good defense too, even though he's a little bit undersized, but he can play good defense. We have Derrick Rose, who's a lightning bolt on offense. And then Frank, who's, arguably one of our best perimeter defenders. So there's a million ways you can go with it. But, back to Frank, I was going to get into, Trae Young. He's been hot lately. Somebody we're going to have to really focus on. Obviously, he's the Hawks' best player during the series. How do you think Tibbs schemes that up to stop him?
I know it's unrealistic, but I almost, because part of what people were saying is that Tibbs likes the bench of Derrick Rose and quickly coming off together. And if that's the case, I would actually say go ahead and start Frank Ntilikina. And one, because that bench lineup would have a great punch. I just think we could start Derrick Rose or start Emmanuel quickly and make this really easy. But I would like the idea of starting Frank just to make sure that his minutes I want all of Frank's minutes to be on Trae Young. Like, I want him giving Trae Young hell. I want him using his length. Frank plays screens better than anybody I've seen play screens, honestly. Like, he gets through some screens. I'm just like, I don't even know how he made it through there. He's got pick dodger Hall of Fame badge.
Right.
So I mean, he's able to do that. He recovers well. He switches well. So I feel like they're gonna have that pick and roll heavy attack. And I think if we put Frank at the top of that attack and use him on Trae Young, then we could really do a lot. And at the end of the day, it's like, if Trae Young draws a couple fouls on Frank, that doesn't kill you. If Trae Young draws a couple fouls on Derrick Rose, now down the stretch of the game, we may be in, but it's like, if those fouls get drawn on Frank, okay.
Yes, and we need Derrick Rose to lead the second unit. Like, he is great. I know quickly, obviously, too, is a great scorer, and you have Burks is one of our best scorers too, and he's another insanely important piece. But you talk about defense and point guard specifically, I wouldn't be mad at Frank starting at all if that mean Elfrid Payton went to the bench and did not touch the floor whatsoever. Maybe a couple minutes here and there to get somebody a breather.
Can't even.
I mean, I don't. I'm not disagreeing with you, but he just it doesn't make any sense. And I know, like you said, it would be easy to start Rose or quickly. I do understand why Tibbs wants them coming off together on the bench, but we need Elfrid Payton not in the lineup. Just any way possible, get him out. He cannot be playing major minutes on a playoff team with home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. It's you can't have it. You can't have it.
You simply can't. We've put up with it all year, but all right, it's time to get serious now.
Exactly. And I know, you mentioned, us as Knicks fans, especially on Twitter, have been getting hated for hating on Elfrid Payton. But it's what are you going to do when a guy, that's literally with any fan base. If somebody's bad, you're going to point it out.
People don't realize, the Sixers are number one in the Eastern Conference. They've had an excellent year. Ben Simmons is probably the defensive player of the year this season. And there are Sixers fans who can't stand Ben Simmons because he won't shoot. They get frustrated with things. If he has a bad off game, They'll complain about it. They say he hasn't come through in the playoffs for them, and they are the number one seed, and he's the possible defensive player of the year. So yeah, we can complain about Elfrid Payton, bro. It's okay.
Exactly. Like, and I'm friends with a lot of Sixers fans because I'm from Philly, born in New York, but I grew up in Philly. So pretty much all of my friends are Sixers fans. And I've seen them all slander Ben Simmons at some point, either this year or in his career, about not shooting the ball, especially this year when they're the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. And it's like, yes, I get it. He needs to improve it. Absolutely. He would literally be a top 5 player in the league if he shot 30% from three. It would be insane. And I've been telling them this the last few years, but we're talking about Elfrid Payton, like you said. Like, it's not like he's a barn burner. He's Elfrid Payton. Like, I'm sorry, Elfrid Payton, if you're so happen to catch this, but like I'm like, you got to get it together, man. You got to figure it out. Like, and Tibbs has to figure out how to get him out of the lineup. But I guess another challenge that the Hawks kind of pose for us, though, is, offensively, like with Trae Young, just mentioned too, but they are getting Bogdanovich back, and John Collins kind of ate Randall alive a little bit when they played. Like, do you see either one of them, second and third options, being a really important factor in the series with us against the Knicks?
I mean, I think they'll both definitely be important. They're part of the supporting cast, but at the end of the day, I think that this all starts and ends with Trae. Like, I think that Trae is there. Not everything they have goes through Trae. So if we're able to stop Trae, I don't think that John Collins is going to keep them in a game. Like, even most of John Collins' offense is created through Trae. So if you're able to slow Trae down, able to contain him, able to, stop the pick and roll, then you kind of disrupt the rhythm of the entire team. So that's really where it comes from. That's an easy job to do. But yeah, Randall's going to eat John Collins. I mean, John Collins may get his, but he's just going to be getting chewed up all series. He's going to be getting bullied. Bogdanovich, I mean, he's a shooter. We're going to have to close out. We're going to have to make sure we box out and finish possessions so that they're not able to kick out second chances to shooters again. They're going to put a lot of shots up. But I mean, I don't think seeing the defensive team is capable of playing and knowing that it's playoff time now, I can only imagine what the level of intensity is going to be, especially if number 6 is off the court.
Yes, and Tibbs on the bench is probably going to be something to watch in its own right. That's going to be insane. But yeah, and another probably the most underrated player in the Hawks, maybe not talked about enough, Clint Capella, led the league in rebounding. I think it was like 14 a game, a little more than that.
Mm-hmm.
How much of a threat do you think he poses against Nerlens Noel with Mitch not being back yet in this series?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate not having Mitch back. And hopefully, at some point in the series, or even if we make it past and in the second round, we can have him back. Because the thing, it's the size issue. Nerlens struggles with people like who have that kind of size. And he's definitely, that's a big threat of their pick and roll as well. Like, he rolls well. He's a great roll man. He's got a lot of gravity. He's finishing. He's rebounding well off other attempts. So we're really going to have to keep him off the boards. I mean, that's our that's the one. I feel like that's our kryptonite. That's the team's kryptonite. Sometimes we don't always box out. We don't necessarily finish those defensive possessions. We play great defense, and then we let the team just get the board and kick it back out for 3 points anyway. And but if we're able to contain him there, then that would go a long way. But yes, as far as like Nerlens is like 6'9", he's a much smaller guy, so it may be a little difficult.
Well, in terms of like kind of combating that, like, what do you think Tibbs can kind of like cook up to stop him? Like, what do you think we can actually do besides just Noel trying to box out Capella?
I think a lot of it's crazy because like I almost feel like I'm definitely harping on it. Of course, I've been harping on it all year, but I try to avoid it. But everything comes back to it. Alfred can't play because what happens a lot of times is that Alfred plays screens incredibly lazily. Like he just chases behind them. Like he doesn't, and so Noel ends up having to step out way further than he's supposed to pick the ball up because Alfred's not making an effort to get back to the ball. Then Noel steps out further, and instead of getting back to his man and allowing Noel to drop, he doesn't really do that. And he doesn't cut off the pass to Noel's man. So Noel's kind of out there in no man's land. So I feel like if we're able to avoid him having to come so far off of Capella and he can stay a little more attached to him on those screens, he can be in position for the rebounds off rip. And, we can just contain that a little more. Like we have to contain the pick and roll. That's what it's all going to come from. Like in containing the pick and roll, you slow down Trae and you don't allow Capella to kill you. So contain
the pick and roll is deadly, because one, Trae can come off pick and roll and just pop and make it. He's he's one of the quickest releases in the league. Like if he gets going, it's going to be hard to stop him, and it's going to be a tough series. Number one. Number two, like you mentioned with Noel, covering Capella, that switching is going to be a problematic too. Because one, if he can't even cover him in his own right, and he's our starting center, it's not really going to be a whole lot of people who can cover him. So that could lead to easy lobs. And then three, there's also, you talked about Efford being lazy on, getting up on Trey in the pick and roll. You could just blow right past him and get to the lane too, which is something Trey is also very good at. He gets to the rim pretty easily. So all these things are kind of, snowballing. And again, don't mean to harp on it again, like you said, but it leads back to number 6. It's just kind of what it is at this point. But it's going to be a tough series though. I love that we have home court. I think we're obviously a lot better on the home court than we are on the road. I think we've proven that. Do you think we can, obviously we're going to need to steal games to win on the road unless we could go 7, which I hope it doesn't go 7 at all. What do you think we need to do on the road any differently to beat the Hawks?
I don't think we need to do anything any differently. One, because we play with the same kind of intensity most times. And two, because the Atlanta crowd is really fickle and we may have more New Yorkers in there anyway. So there'll just be a
travel
game. Yeah, we not only we travel, but we're just always in Atlanta. Like even during the regular season, like there's always mad Knicks fans in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So I think that we'll be pretty well represented out there, and it'll But yeah, this team, and it's not like they're a super experienced team either. So like they don't really have that leg up on us. So I really think we can win the series in 5 games, especially if it's funny 5 games without number 6.
Yes.
Or possibly 6 games. I don't.
I was gonna say my prediction is probably 6 games. That's what I think. But yeah, it's gonna be. I think we can win. Obviously, we proved we can beat them in the regular season. Playoffs are a different animal, but we have a head coach who has a lot of playoff experience as an assistant and a head coach, obviously. So, and arguably the most intense head coach in the NBA. So, I think we are in good hands. I do think we can win the series, and then of course we would have another challenge in probably the Philadelphia 76ers, which I don't want to look ahead. We don't necessarily need to discuss that right now, but that would just be a whole nother thing. But we can actually get into the rest of the playoffs though. First round, is there any matchup that you're kind of looking at besides, obviously our Knicks that intrigues you? You're looking forward to seeing. Any thoughts?
That Miami Milwaukee matchup is going to be really interesting, just because Miami knocked Milwaukee out last year, and then Milwaukee went and got Drew Holiday, so it's like they went and called in their brother, and now they want to fight again. So that'll be really interesting. Miami kind of pulled it together toward the end of the year. And I feel like they have that kind of, if you knock a team out in the playoffs the year before, you feel like you're going to beat them when you see them again. Oh, yeah. So I think both teams definitely feel like it's their series to take. So that'll be interesting. And that also means that turns into who matches up with the Nets in the next round, which I think could be interesting as well. The play-ins aren't all figured out. But the thing is, I think the best series in the first round, and probably one of those teams going to go to the Western Conference, depending on how it goes, because the Lakers and Warriors play each other on Wednesday.
Yep.
And the winner of that game gets the 7 seed, and the Suns are the 2 seed. So if the Lakers win, it's going to be Lakers versus Suns in the first round, which I think is crazy. That sounds like a Western Conference Finals matchup. So that would be really interesting. And if the Warriors win, then it'll be Chris Paul versus Steph Curry. But I think the Suns would cook the Warriors. But
I do too.
That Suns Lakers series would be interesting though.
Oh my God, yeah. That would be, especially because you think about like the actual individual matchups. Like you would have Bron going against all those 3-and-D wings that they have that they can throw, that Monty Williams can throw at him rather, and would cause problem. Even though obviously it's Bron, he's almost unstoppable. But it would, like, if you throw Mikal Bridges and everybody else that they have at him, Cam Johnson, like that will cause problems for him.
Jay Crowder,
Jay Crowder, yes. They got a squad over there. And then Ayton on Davis would be an intriguing matchup on both sides of the ball. And then obviously, you got Chris Paul running the show. So that'd be a whole nother thing.
And Chris Paul and Dennis Schroeder were playing together last year, and now they'd be going head to head.
Exactly.
It'd be a very interesting matchup.
It would be great. Honestly, though, I think whoever comes out of that as the 8 seed might have a better chance. Like I'm not confident in this Jazz team. Like, what do you think about this Jazz team? Do you think the Warriors or Lakers could upset them? Can't talk in the first round.
I think either of those teams could upset the Jazz in the first round, actually. I think the Jazz should really be sweating I mean, of course they won't be sweating. It's crazy to end up as the number 1 seed, and you probably have to face the Lakers or the Warriors, which means you got to see LeBron James or Steph Curry. Like, I don't really think that's necessarily fair to them, but that's how it worked out. This Jazz team, I guess, is different. They've never been the number 1 seed before. Some of the margins they beat teams with, their like all their analytics, all those things. They're a very good team, but it's just you got to show me in the playoffs. So if it's LeBron James and Anthony Davis against the Utah Jazz, I don't have the Utah Jazz in that matchup.
No, I think it's kind of like the Bucks the last couple of years, where it's like really intriguing team, kind of new to being dominant, like the Bucks were the last couple of years where they're the 1 seed. Obviously, you have like Donovan Mitchell who averaged 26 a game this year. You have Gobert, who might be the defensive player of the year again. Like, but the problem is, I think they get exposed if they play the Lakers. Maybe not as much the Warriors. I think it's a one-man band. I mean, Wiggins is having a good year too. And obviously Draymond's a great playmaker, but it's Steph, and you have to stop Steph. And I think they probably would get past the Warriors. I would think in maybe 6 games. But if they play the Lakers, I think they're going to get exposed. I think Rudy Gobert would not be able to stop Anthony Davis if he's on. If he's off, we'll see what happens. And he's been inconsistent since he's come back from injury. But like, I don't see the Jazz beating the Lakers if the Lakers do happen to fall to the 8th seed.
Yeah, I don't see it at all. And I would love to see the AD versus Gobert matchup because I don't know, I just feel like Gobert looks funny in the light. Like, but he's earned it this year. Like, all the praise he's gotten this year, he's earned. Because even when Donovan Mitchell went down, they were still winning ball games. So
they were. I do think he can be, like, he is a great defensive player, and like he is improving offensively too. Number one, Anthony Davis would shut him down defensively, though. I don't think that would cause any problems for the Lakers whatsoever.
At all.
Number two, you've seen Gobert get exposed before. Like, Joel Embiid has exposed him multiple times in the last few years. And, they're not similar per se offensively, but like they both put up monster numbers, or at least have the ability to. So I think Anthony Davis is the only other player in the league besides maybe Jokic and Embiid to be able to expose Gobert. And if he does, the Jazz are going to fold, because that's who they rely on to anchor down their defense. Like, yes, they have other good defenders too. Mitchell can defend, Ingles can defend. Like, they have guys, but it's like a pyramid with like trading cards. You know what I mean? Like, if the one domino falls, the rest will too.
Exactly. So definitely interested in seeing that.
Yeah, that would be intriguing. I think one thing you did mention, though, on the other side of the bracket in the East, the potential Bucks Nets matchup would be so good. How do you think that goes if that does happen?
It's tough because Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, like, just in a 7-game series, like with those 3 guys, you have games that are close in the playoffs down the stretch, and you got to go get a bucket, and you have like a great multiple choice. Like, all right, do you want to go to Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie? Like, Kyrie was 50, 40, 90 this year.
Yeah, 9th player ever.
James Harden was insane when he played, and they haven't even really all 3 played together very often, but it's just like, that's a tough monster to stop. But I would love to see it because Giannis is going to eat. Like, they don't really have anything to deal with him inside.
I was going to say, you talk about all 3 of those guys, but they might not even have the best player on the floor on a night-to-night basis, at least. It's tough. Like, maybe it would probably lean Durant, but like, Giannis is a 2-time MVP.
Giannis is a 2-time MVP, but like, Kevin Durant.
I know.
And honestly, at this point, James Harden.
Yeah.
Like, James Harden is ridiculous. Like, say what you will. There are a lot of things about his game that annoy me too, and some of the things he chooses to do. But part of the most annoying thing about the flopping and things like that is just like, hey, bro, you're really good at basketball. You don't have to do all that.
As he said himself earlier this week or last week in the press conference, he said,
I love that.
This basketball thing. I love it too. Like, I love that he's showing confidence. Obviously, he's not shy to it, but yeah, he doesn't have to do all the flopping and stuff.
Yeah, like, no. It would definitely be an interesting series, and I would like because honestly, all right, so I think we beat Atlanta, like I said, 5 or 6 maybe. I honestly am not that afraid of that Philly series. I think the 7 games, this game against a guy who won't shoot a 3-pointer, is something that to be pretty excited about, especially if we're able to get Mitch back and have the size on Embiid. It would just
Yeah.
be, it
I
could
don't
go a
think
long
it'll
way.
be easy. Like a lot of my Sixers fan friends are like sweeper 5 games. That's the way, like what they think. And I'm like, listen, if we make it to the second round, which isn't if, I do think the Hawks are a solid team. Like that's going to be a hard matchup for you guys. We are the best, arguably the best defensive team in the league. Our forte is 3-point percentage. Like again, like opposing teams 3-point percentage against us is the lowest in the league. And they are a 3-point shooting team. Like that's the one thing that scares me is that they have improved a lot. They brought in Seth Curry. Um, they have Furkan Korkmaz. They have like all these guys who can shoot. And I don't know, Furkan, we'll see if he actually plays a whole lot, but like they got Danny Green. I was blanking on someone. That's who it was. Danny Green. Like they got dudes who can shoot. So it's going to be interesting. Tyrese Maxey too. He just put up 35 the other day in the final game of the season. Like it will be tough for us, but it would be a very intriguing matchup. And I think it would be Sixers in 6. That would be my prediction.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I could see that. We definitely make them work for it. It can go one way or another. But it's just like in that Bucks, I look at that Bucks and Nets series. If we were to beat the Sixers, like I'd rather see the Bucks than the Nets.
Yes.
If we were to get that far, like I don't want to deal with that 3-headed
No.
monster if we don't have to. Not in a
As
playoff
great as
series.
our defense is, no. No, I don't want to see that.
I watched last time it was just Kyrie after James Harden went down, and some of the shots he was making, I was just like, bro, like what do you even do about this? Like
Nothing.
he's coming to the lane and he's not even in the lane really. He's fading away. He's using one hand off the glass. I'm just like, yo, this guy's ridiculous. Like that's great defense, and it's still 2 points.
I think he's the closest thing in the league right now to what Kobe Bryant was in his prime.
He's like somewhere. He's like Kobe Bryant and Allen Iverson together.
Yeah.
Like
He's got the handles of AI
footwork.
and the finesse of AI, but the footwork and just the shot making ability of Kobe and just the dog. Like Kyrie's got it. And I know he gets slandered a lot on social media about kind of the quirkiness and stuff, but at the end of the day, he is a top 10 basketball player in the league.
As far as basketball goes, what I'm hoping for, I hope that tomorrow's the East playing games. I hope that the Wizards beat the Celtics because that would be Russ and Brad Beal against the Nets. And it would just be, I mean, the Wizards wouldn't win, but
no,
it would be cool to see Russ and KD in a playoff series.
If that series happens, I'm betting the over every game. I am betting
100%.
the over every game between if you have Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, and then Harden, Durant, and Kyrie on the same court. Over every single time.
And the Wizards, hey man, they picked it up toward the end of the season. You never know.
They did.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they won that playing and mess with the Nets a little bit.
Yeah,
6, maybe 7.
That would be
fun.
intriguing. That would be intriguing. One more thing though on that Bucks Nets series before we get to kind of final predictions. In terms of defensively for the Bucks, obviously very good defensive team. You put Drew Holiday on Kyrie. Not that he's going to stop him, but he will slow him down. Drew Holiday is a great defender. You can put Giannis on either Kyrie or not Kyrie, Harden or Durant. Probably more likely Durant. They're the same size.
Mm-hmm.
And then Middleton, who's he's not a terrible defender. He's a good size. Like
he's solid. He's solid.
Harden will cook him, but he can cause a little bit of mishaps every once in a while. Like that would be an intriguing thing. And then you go to the other side of the ball. The Nets can't stop a nosebleed unless Nick Claxton's in the game. So, Giannis will get his way, and you have all the other offensive weapons too. You got Holiday, Middleton, obviously DiVincenzo. Like that's going to be in a very, very intriguing series that I do think the Bucks can win that series. I know the Nets will be favored, but I do think the Bucks can definitely
get that one.
So,
like you said, the matchups of the three, like with Holiday on Kyrie, Middleton on James, and Giannis, they probably match up with them better than anybody else does, honestly.
Yeah. Anybody in the league, probably.
Yeah.
Like,
so that'll definitely be interesting.
The only other team I could maybe think of is the Suns with all their 3-and-D guys, but I still don't even think then because they wouldn't have anybody to stop Durant. So
nobody would have the size that Giannis does.
No. But speaking of that could be a potential final matchup. I was going to ask you before we wrap up here. What are we thinking for conference finals and final matchups? What are your predictions here?
It's tough because we're not out of it until we're out of it. Like as long as we're in it, we're in it.
Yeah.
Like I said, we could beat Atlanta. I think the Philly series is winnable.
I do.
So, and then, but the Eastern Conference Finals, you probably don't make it past if Brooklyn is there, realistically.
Yes.
So I'm gonna use the most unbiased response possible and just live in a world where the Knicks didn't make it past the second round.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with. If it's not us, I feel like it's Philly.
Yeah.
I just, like I feel like Philly beats Milwaukee if Milwaukee makes it there. I feel like if Brooklyn makes it there, it's going to be a really great series. But I think that, they just have absolutely no answer for Joel Embiid for 7 games. Like they would just get eaten alive. So
And also the
I
one
think
advantage that the Sixers would finally have is coaching. They've never had a coaching advantage over any team in the playoffs, at least like in the deeper playoffs. And now they finally have Doc Rivers. And credit to Steve Nash. Great year, great basketball mind. First year as a head coach, Doc Rivers could eat him alive.
Yeah, exactly. So that would I would, if it's not us, I think the Sixers are in the finals. And the winner of that, it depends on how that West playing goes.
Yeah.
The West playing really matters because those are really LeBron James and Steph Curry are down there. So it's like if the Lakers are the 7 seed, whoever wins that 2-7 matchup between the Lakers and the Suns is my pick for the
Okay.
West.
That's fair.
I think that those are my two. I think that for the whole time I thought those two teams would end up at the Western Conference Finals or like meeting in the West like that. So I've got either one of them, whichever one of them survives that first round. If it's the two of them, I believe in that team going forward. So I don't have a concrete answer, but let's say
Okay.
Suns Sixers or Lakers Sixers.
Okay. For me, I do have the
Mhm.
Sixers making the Eastern Conference Finals. As much as I would love the Knicks to win, I think we have a good shot. I also will be realistic, and it will be hard to stop Joel Embiid if we do go past the Hawks and face the Sixers. So I don't think the only way we could possibly win that series, I think, is if Mitch comes back. And,
So
we'll
what
see
do
what
you
happens
think
with
about
that.
that series if Mitch was back? If Mitch comes back for game 1 of that series, how do you feel?
I still think it might be Sixers and 7, but I think I'll go Sixers and 7. But it
Yeah.
could go either way. Like they have. I don't even know if they have like a huge coaching advantage over us. They might have a slight. Tibbs is great. He's the reason why we are where we are. I just think they are a deeper team than we are. And that's something that, again, hasn't been said about Sixers teams in a very long time. But unfortunately, I do think we fall in 7. But I do think we can win that series. Like, it is possible if things go our way. But I think in the end, the most talented players on the floor will win the series. And they have the 2 most talented players on the floor. As much as I love Julius and he's an all-NBA player,
I don't know if I have Ben Simmons over Julius Randle.
it's tough. Offensively, Julius runs laps. Defensively, Ben runs laps. So like it's close. It's close.
Yeah, because Julius is playing MVP level basketball. I
Oh my God,
can't say
yeah.
they have 2 most talented players on the court. I think it goes Joel Embiid,
They at least have the best
Julius
player on the
Randle,
court.
Ben Simmons. Yeah, Julius. Yeah, Joel.
Yeah. So it would be tough, but I do think the Sixers will go to the Eastern Conference Finals. I got the Bucks over the Nets, and that might be me being a little biased because fuck the Nets, but I do think the Bucks can win that series, like we were just talking about a few minutes ago. And then I think the Sixers would make the finals. On the other side, I've got the Phoenix Suns. I've been a fan of this team the last couple of years, and then they added Chris Paul, which was insane. I love the moves that they've made. I love Monty Williams as a person and as a coach. I think they make that finals. And I'm kind of going with the upset. I'm going to pick the Suns to win the championship. I think they can do it. I think that would be a really intriguing matchup. Two pretty similar teams, a lot of 3-and-D, big men who can play. I think I got the Suns.
I like that, honestly, because I think in that Suns Sixers series, I would have the Suns as well. And I would be rooting for the Suns so hard because my inner child needs CP3 to have a ring.
Yes.
Like
I do need CP3 to have a ring. And I also think like just in terms of matchups, I wouldn't, if I was Ben Simmons, I wouldn't want to play CP3 on either side of the ball.
I don't think they would put Ben on CP3. I think they
Fair.
would put Ben on Devin.
On Book. Yeah, that's true. Either way, though, I think they would have Paul guard Simmons on defense, which I wouldn't want if I was Ben Simmons, because he already can't do a whole lot from past the foul line. So And CP3 is a great defender, even though he's a little older now, but
He always finds a way to be a great defender
he
somehow.
does. He's just pesty. He's a pest. Like that's the only way to describe Chris Paul. But one of the best point guards of all time. So
That's why he needs his ring.
he does. He does.
If it's
Well,
not the Knicks, I need the Suns to get it.
yeah, I mean, it's gonna be great to actually root for our team in the playoffs. Like
Such a
this has
great
been
thing.
so long.
What a feeling.
I know. It's gonna be great. We're gonna get that though later this week. I think was it Friday or Saturday? This is
Saturday,
game
I
one.
believe.
Saturday. That's what I thought. Okay. Saturday's game one. Shaun, I am beyond excited. I will be watching from work. It's gonna be a great time. And we'll see what happens. But either way, I appreciate you coming on the show. A lot of fun. Love talking basketball, love talking Knicks. And I see your tweets, so I had to get you on here. So
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
yeah,
Thanks for having me. Oh,
of course. Of course. Um, what was I gonna say? Yeah, thank you guys, of course, as always. I have to thank everybody watching and everybody supporting me. Does not go unnoticed. Love y'all for that. Next week, episode 11, we have my buddy from South Africa, who's an artist, Way Too, first international guest on the Morello show. I'm very happy about that.
that's so dope.
Yeah, Way Too is he's my guy. I've known him for probably about 2 years. Never met him, but he connected with some of the people that I do music with, and I'm gonna be interviewing him next week, and it's gonna be awesome. And he's a great dude. He makes some great music. Check him out on Instagram. Way Too Mondi, I believe, is his handle. I think he spells it like way through, so there's a th in there, but it's pronounced Way Too. Very excited for that conversation though next week. So looking forward to that. Shaun, again, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. And that's all I got for this episode. Let's go Knicks is the bottom line, and I'll see y'all next time.
Let's go Knicks. Shout out the Knicks. Well.